30 seconds here for folks to join. We'll wait another 10, 15 seconds. Okay, hello and welcome again. Thank you so much for joining us. I would like to begin today's event with a land acknowledgement and share that the Harvard Project, Honoring Nations, the Ash Center acknowledged the land on which Harvard sits is the traditional territory of the Massachusetts people and a place that has long served as a site of meeting and exchange among nations. Today's event is being recorded and the video will be made publicly available on the Ash Center's YouTube channel. My name is Megan Minoka Hill and I'm from the United Nation of Wisconsin, and I have the privilege of serving as the Director of Honoring Nations at the Harvard Project on American Indian Economic Development. Honoring Nations is a national awards program that identifies, shares, and celebrates outstanding examples of excellence in tribal governance. The program started 23 years ago and has become a movement across Indian country and around the world. To date, we have awarded 142 programs from over 100 tribal nations, and after today's event, we'll have 148 awardees. Honoring Nations has been replicated in Aboriginal Australia and most recently in Canada to celebrate governance achievements among the Inuit, Métis, and First Nations. We have been anticipating today for a very long time. The Honoring Nations 2021 award cycle actually began in 2019 and was put on pause for a full year so that the programs could focus their energy on the health and safety of home in response to the pandemic. So today is really a great day of celebration to learn from and to be inspired by 6 outstanding programs that are serving their citizens, they're serving their nations, and they're serving their regions in really powerful ways. And they have lessons for local governments everywhere. Our honorees, and certainly the finalists that you're going to hear from today, are bright shining lights representing the very best in self-determination. These last 18, 19 months, especially, these bright lights have just led the way in both dreaming and achieving what is possible. Our award process is incredibly rigorous with multiple rounds of evaluation, including the presentations that you're going to hear today. We have a dedicated board of governors who volunteer their time and expertise to guide the evaluation and selection process. They operate on a consensus basis and are just an incredible group of leaders, both individually and collectively. I want to just take a moment to honor their efforts and share their names with you. Our chairman of the board is Regis Pecos Cochiti. Our chairman emeritus is Chief and Faithkeeper Warren Lyons from Onondaga. Melanie Bonke, Yupik. Amanda Cobb Gretham, Chickasaw. Phil Deloria, Standing Rock Sioux. Karen Diver, Fond du Lac, Chippewa. Diane Enos, Salt River, Pima, Maricopa. Brian Henderson, Apache. Andrew Lee, Seneca. Michael Lipsky, Wilson Pipestem, Odo Missouri and Osage, and Angela Riley, Citizen Potawatomi. I want to offer our thanks to our team of Honoring Nations site visitor evaluators, the Honoring Nations staff, the Ash Center, and our funders for Honoring Nation, the Bush Foundation and the Endeavor Foundation. The 6 programs you're going to hear from today were selected from 70 applications from 45 tribal nations and 5 tribal consortia. Each applicant was evaluated on the basis of their effectiveness, their significance to sovereignty, their cultural relevance, their transferability, and their sustainability. We've got an action-packed and inspirational hour planned for you today. Each of the 6 finalists will give a short presentation on their work, and then I'll invite our chairman, Regis Pecos, to say a few words before announcing the awards. So here we go. Slide. I'd like to introduce Ms. Kate Anderson. She is the Director of Public Relations for the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, and she is going to share the story of the Agua Caliente People Curriculum. So Kate, if you could come on camera.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce the Agua Caliente School Curriculum. And first, I would just like to acknowledge and thank Megan Hill, the Director of Honoring Nations, as well as the board for the process in which you pursue to recognize all of these fabulous projects today. So thank you for all of the work that you do. It's my pleasure to introduce our project. I am Kate Anderson. I'm the Director of Public Relations for the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians. I am also an enrolled member of Citizen Potawatomi Nation in Shawnee, Oklahoma. So today I want to introduce the school curriculum project. This is a unique partnership among the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians, the Palm Springs Unified School District, and its Schools Foundation. Interestingly enough, in 2018, the Schools Foundation and the Unified School District approached the tribe with an interesting idea. They wanted to work with the tribe to create an Agua Caliente specific curriculum for the local public school system. In addition, this had been a dream of the tribe for many, many years, to be able to create a curriculum that would be used in the local schools that was put together by the tribe. So to start off this partnership, we really had the unique opportunity to work together with all partners at the table, hoping to achieve the same goal. In addition, this project was substantiated by a process in which the tribe, the school district, as well as the Schools Foundation agreed to work together well into the future. And this partnership was solidified through an MOU. So we were able to begin working together in a unified fashion with a formal agreement that we all agreed to be at the table for the same outcome. And that was to create a 3rd grade curriculum, an 8th grade curriculum, and an 11th grade curriculum in the local public school system, and then carry on the traditions in alternative grade levels from there. And today we're so excited that we have been teaching the Agua Caliente People curriculum in the schools for about 3.5 years. So the school curriculum is currently impacting about 1,600 3rd grade students, more than 1,500 8th grade students, and is being taught in multiple classrooms across the school district. Next slide, please. The lessons are about the tribe's history, culture, traditions, and modern way of life. While there had been other curriculum being used by teachers from time to time in the schools, none of that had been authorized by the tribe itself. And so to be able to have the opportunity to author the curriculum that would be taught in the schools was really a unique goal that we all had in mind. And the lessons focus on really the elements that the tribe wanted to share with the community. So when we came together to work with the school district and the school's foundation, the tribe was one of the leaders at the table talking about what topics would be addressed with the students. Then, in combination with the school district and its educated classroom instructors, we were able to develop school curriculum that really meant something to the teachers. They could own the curriculum, teach the lessons in the classroom, but teach it through the tribe's voice. Next slide, please. What that did is it allowed us to create a model curriculum that other school districts and tribes could also follow. In addition to the curriculum being taught throughout the Palm Springs Unified School District, since the creation, we have also partnered with another local school district, Desert Sands Unified. They just launched a pilot program in the 9th grade this year, and portions of our 8th grade curriculum are now being used in the 9th grade ethnic studies program at Desert Sands Unified. In addition, Agua Caliente tribal members are teaching this curriculum at home. So we have a very unique situation where the tribe is now telling its own story in the public school system and telling the stories the way the tribe wants them to be told. We wanted to originally build this as a national model, and it's clearly evolving into that. We're also working with another local tribe, the Torres Martinez tribe, so that they can then begin partnering with their local school district as well for a similar outcome. Next slide, please. Some of the key components to making our project a success was that this was a true partnership. The school district, the tribe, and the school's foundation all had the best interest of the tribe in mind. They knew that the best way to tell the tribe's story was from the tribe itself. We all had common goals coming to the table. This was a collaborative effort from the very, very beginning. And even almost 5 years into our partnership, we are still working strongly together today. In addition, the school curriculum was developed in a way for student success. We wanted to make learning fun. We wanted to make the lessons hands-on and interactive, and we did just that. In addition, we worked together with the school district and the tribe to create teacher training so that the curriculum can be taught in the classroom the proper way. So through all of these wonderful goals and excellent communication, we were able to launch and continue to carry through the Agua Caliente curriculum in the Palm Springs Unified School District. And we just want to thank all the partners, all of the collaborators that have been at the table with us. And again, thanks to Honoring Nations for all of your support and recognition today.
Thank you, Kate. The partnership between the band, the school district, and the foundation is really remarkable, and such an effective and creative way to reclaim education and correct misinformation and stereotypes through Cahuilla truth. So thank you very much. Slide. I'd now like to introduce Principal Chief Chuck Hoskin Jr. from the Cherokee Nation to share the work of Cherokee Nation One Fire. Chief Hoskin, if you could turn your camera on, thank you. Take it away.
Well, OCO everyone, I want to thank everyone for the opportunity to be with you today, to be part of this conversation hosted by Harvard to discuss the best in Indian country is very meaningful to the Cherokee Nation. I do want to say that I think some of the most progressive and dynamic governments in this country are Indian nations. And I think some of the best programs are certainly on display here today. And we're just honored to be a part of it. I want to talk about our One Fire Victims Advocate Program. One of the most basic roles of any government is to make sure we protect the vulnerable. It's an exercise of sovereignty to protect the vulnerable members of your community. And those who are victims of crime are certainly among those. And that includes domestic violence survivors, and others in our community who are suffering and need a blanket of protection that the tribal government should provide. The challenge that we all have in governments, whether it's tribal governments or other governments, is that as we grow up our programs, whether it's in criminal justice, whether it's in healthcare, whether it's in social services, housing, any of the services that might be relevant to someone who's encountered a violent crime or is a victim of violent crime, a survivor of domestic violence and other types of crime, is that we often have government programs in silos not working together. The One Fire program has been designed to solve that problem, to knock down those barriers, to get all of our relevant programs operating together into a central hub known as One Fire, so that the victim is at the center of our efforts to protect the victim, as it should be. And so 8 years ago, our former Secretary of State, Charles Head, spearheaded an effort under my predecessor, Bill John Baker, Chief of the Cherokee Nation at that time, to get all of our programs together. The idea is that we want to empower victims, give victims the tools to recover and to be protected, not have the victims going all over the tribal complex, driving from office to office when we know that they're dealing with some of the most difficult times in their lives. So One Fire is a one-stop shop so that victims who are identified, either they come to One Fire themselves or they're referred by any number of departments to our staff of very caring individuals who can assess their needs and be their voice and be that person that goes to the other departments to get housing assistance, to talk to law enforcement, to talk to victims advocates with our Attorney General's office, to do everything they can to be there for the victim rather than let the victim, again, have to be on her own or on his own to go get the services that they need. Culture is at the heart of our One Fire program. If we're going to provide healing for Cherokee people who need healing, then we have to take that serious. We have to put those thoughts and those words into action. And at One Fire, that's exactly what we do. So at this point, we've served over 2,000 clients within our Cherokee Nation reservation. Every Cherokee citizen who lives in the reservation is eligible for One Fire services. You can imagine a scenario where a victim of domestic violence comes into our Cherokee Nation Marshal Service, or the Marshal Service goes out to a crime scene where there's a victim of domestic violence. What can we do to help that victim? Well, and before One Fire, it may have just been left at that scene where we encountered the violent act and left it to the victim to go find the services. But with One Fire, we go engage with them. We go help them. We bring them into our One Fire Center. We bring them to domestic violence services such as a shelter or housing. We bring them to the healthcare services that they need. We connect them with legal aid, or we connect them with the victim's advocate in our Attorney General's office. We want to do everything we can to get the departments to work together, again, to put that victim at its center. I think One Fire has had a tremendous impact, and I think one of the most important aspects of it is that we put a great deal of resources into all of these programs that can address victims' needs, but One Fire itself represents a relatively small part of Cherokee Nation's large budget. But what it does is it brings everyone together. It knocks down those barriers. It eliminates those silos of thought and action so that we're all working together. And this is where the program can very much be replicated across Indian country and across other governments. The idea is that you want to centralize the focus on the victim, the focus on the survivor, and create one shop in which the person who's at the focus of all of that, the victim, the survivor, can go for help rather than have them go around to all of your different programs. This can be done at relatively low cost, but it does take cooperation between departments. But what that ends up doing is it gets these departments to work together. So they aren't just achieving success for the victims, they're also achieving success within their own programs, because you have the Marshal Service learning more about what Human Services does. You have Human Services learning more about what our housing programs does for those who are vulnerable. You get departments working together, focused again, as we should be, on those who are in need and not just in our offices with blinders on. You end up having better programs. And I think that is what we want in government, is to be more effective for the people that we are serving. And One Fire is a great example of that. I want to thank you all very much for the opportunity to present and to be a part of this effort. Addressing domestic violence, among other types of crime on the Cherokee Nation Reservation, is of high national interest to the Cherokee Nation. One Fire is the most effective way that we address it. Wado.
Thank you so much, Chief Hoskin. The heart and care that's at the core of One Fire is just truly transformative, not only for the survivors, but to all people, Native and non-Native, throughout the entire region. So thank you for sharing One Fire with us. Could you advance the slides, please, to Blue Lake Rancheria? I'd like now to introduce Ms. Jana Gagnon. She's the Director of Sustainability and Governmental Affairs at the Blue Lake Rancheria, and she is going to share the work of Energy Lifeline Sector Resilience, Low Carbon Microgrids with us. Jana, if you could come on camera.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Terrific. And I should be on camera.
Yep, you're great. You're perfect.
Terrific. So just very quickly, on behalf of the Blue Lake Rancheria, Chairperson Claudia Brundin, Vice Chair Arla Ramsey, Tribal Council members Dorothy McKinnon, Art Ramsey, and Jason Ramos, it is an honor to be honored here today by this initiative. And we want to thank also our fellow honorees. This is truly an extraordinary group of programs, and we are delighted to be a part of it. So the Blue Lake Rancheria tribe is located in far northwestern California. It's a rural and geographically fairly isolated region in the ancestral territory of the Wiyot people. We have tenuous connections to the electrical grids, and we experience frequent power outage. This is a situation, of course, shared with many other tribal nations, including those and especially those in rural, isolated areas. Disruptions, of course, are increasing due to the climate crisis, and outages are now often concurrent with other disasters, such as wildfires, volatile storms, extreme heat, drought, and of course, the COVID-19 pandemic. Since 2015, the tribe has built 2 low-carbon electric microgrids, which are mini electrical grids, and we have 2 others in construction. These microgrids support tribal government operations and programs, the tribe's most important economic enterprises, and the other lifeline sectors as we define them: water and wastewater systems, food production, storage and distribution, communications. This includes broadband, cellular, internet connectivity, emergency communication systems, and transportation, which of course is increasingly, as it becomes electrified, reliant on good, reliable electricity and other forms of energy. All of what we do requires robust power. This program creates a clear benefit stack for the tribe: reduced cost, savings of approximately $250,000 a year, improved continuity of operations, a reduced carbon footprint. We're more nimble in our emergency response because we can rely on our power systems to be the support for that. And of course, it's an economy enabling investment as well. Energy resilience has proven to provide benefits well beyond the tribe's borders, of course. In part, because of the innovation of the Blue Lake Rancheria, microgrids are now a central solution across the globe for the effectiveness of decarbonized resilience. That is, reducing climate forcing emissions and improving reliability at the same time. Next slide, please. So this program has deep cultural relevance and resonance for the tribe. The microgrids are the epicenter of an innovation platform that's led to advancements and replication. It can fairly be said that internationally, this region is now a leader in distributed clean energy and microgrid technologies, which was expanded and accelerated by the tribe's projects. By proving up these first of their kind microgrids based on solar energy, the tribe has increased its self-sufficiency in strategic partnerships. Examples are with emergency response agencies at the local, state, and federal level. And one of the most enduring strategic partnerships is with the local university, Humboldt State, and the Schatz Energy Research Center there, supporting the technical, educational, and funding components of these systems. This program also provides educational opportunities in the field for tribal members and hundreds of others, as depicted in these photos. Technically, this program has required policy development and crafting new government structures, including a tribal utility authority and other operational supports. Maintaining the energy resilience direction over a decadal timeframe and in the midst of other serious tribal priorities has required extraordinary governance strength from the Blue Lake Rancheria Tribal Council and the tribe more broadly. The tribe has always valued being prepared and taking care of people, and by ensuring sustainable energy under the tribe's jurisdictional and operational control, it has brought its values into practice. When we do energy well, social, cultural, economic, and environmental improvements result. Next slide, please. As an example of this, in October 2019, the region experienced its first public safety power shutoff. These are proactive grid outages to reduce the risk of wildfire from the electrical grid. This event lasted for 30 hours. It affected millions of people in 30 counties across California. Because of its microgrids, the Blue Lake Rancheria was able to support the entire region with emergency response capabilities, including saving 4 lives in the event due to the ability to provide power for medical equipment. Next slide, please. And lastly, but of equal importance, we want to talk about transferability. We call it knowledge sharing, but over 100 tribal nations have toured the tribe's microgrids to date. 20 projects have followed along in tribal lands. We continue to work closely with other tribes, state and federal partners to craft policy and investment, to learn from deployments and support energy lifeline sector resilience in tribal lands and elsewhere. Tribes need clean energy resilience as a keystone support to thriving nation building. The Blue Lake Rancheria has proven this strategy in a relatively short time frame. While among the smallest federally recognized tribes in the United States in land base and population, as Vice Chair Arla Ramsey has said many times, if the Blue Lake Rancheria can do it, others can do it too. Thank you for your kind attention and for this extraordinary recognition alongside our fellow tribal nations. All are examples of governance and sovereignty exercised for excellence. Thank you.
Thank you, Jana. Energy Lifelines just is an incredible hub of emergency preparedness. Our colleagues shared that during the site visit, there was a very powerful, quote, and that was, being prepared is just being a good neighbor. So thank you. Slide. I'd like now to introduce Chairman Keith Anderson from the Shakopee Mdewakanton Sioux community, and he is going to share the story of Paisley. Chairman Anderson.
Well, hello, and thanks for that introduction. And I want you to know that this is an honor, and thank you for honoring nations, for the committee for inviting me to speak. And I'm here to talk about Paisley. Paisley is a high mountain prairie in the heart of the Black Hills. The site is traditionally considered the center of the universe to the Lakota people. It's a place where Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota people gathered for ceremonies. It's central to our ancestral homeland, and it deserves to be protected. This is something that the people of the 7 Council Fires, or the Ochekti Shikowin, believe. and it's what brought us together. In 2012, the sacred site was up for sale. We feared the land would be broken up and used for development. And at that same time, my friend and mentor and my tribe's longtime chairman, Stanley Crooks, had a vision. He had a vision that the seven council fires should come back together and return to the Black Hills. Chief Leonard Crow Dog said, "We can do it." And he provided us with spiritual guidance to recover that site. Our tribes worked together to purchase more than 2,000 acres of land and take that high prairie and place it into trust. Today, the 8 tribes of the 7 council fires have joined together to preserve Paisley. And those tribes include Rosebud, Crow Creek, Standing Rock, Cheyenne River, Yankton, Oglala, Sisseton Wahpeton, and my tribe, the Shakopee Madewa Kantuwa. Next slide, please. So our tribes are protecting a site with deep cultural and spiritual significance. And that path wasn't easy. Having taken that land into trust was very challenging, and having that land taken into trust by several tribes is very unique. It was critical that Paisley be in trust so that our tribal governments could be jointly responsible for it. Each tribe is its own separate government. Before the settlers came, the Ocheti would come in and together meet at least once a year at Paisley. And today, the sacred site continues to bring us together. It serves as a powerful example of our sovereignty as tribal nations and what we can do when we come together. Each of our tribes with equal say meet regularly, and we make decisions for Paisley. So on the screen are some photos of those quarterly meetings over the years. We manage the land's preservation and relationship with local and state governments. We have public safety right-of-way, invasive plan agreements with the local counties in South Dakota, and we also have emergency services coming out of Rapid City. Having this land in our control is an important exercise in self-determination and self-governance. Next slide, please.
Yeah. They're one ahead of you.
Okay, together our tribes, coming together, we've been able to accomplish great things. We've successfully placed more than 2,000 acres into trust, benefiting the Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota peoples across North America. And we have restored a buffalo herd to Paisley, starting with a donation from the Theodore Roosevelt National Park. We received 12 buffalo. We have since received other donations from Oglala Sioux Tribe and the American Prairie Reserve. Our conservation herd has grown to over 75 buffalo. And at the same time, our tribes are also bringing the site back to its natural condition by restoring native plants and grasses and allowing the land to rest. We've also brought back a growing number of traditional ceremonies to Paisley. We've had pipe ceremonies, buffalo dances, repatriation ceremonies, and naming ceremonies. And we want to help our young people understand their history and culture. And that's why we also organize programs for the Native youth, including a summer camp. Next slide. Preserving traditional homelands is a very important issue across Indian country. Millions of acres of cultural land have been lost. It's not simple when we want to protect sacred sites on our own reservations. It becomes a lot harder to address when those sacred sites are not on a tribal reservation. And Paisley is a model for how collaborating with other tribes can lead to success. It's allowed us to compile our resources and to leverage all of our different relationships with local governments and organizations. Over the years, this program has inspired 2 similar collaborations. My tribe joined with Rosebud and Oglala and the Crow Creek Sioux tribes to preserve another sacred site at Bear Butte. It holds great spiritual and cultural significance for Dakota, Lakota, and the Nakota tribes. We partnered with the Northern Cheyenne and the Southern Cheyenne and Arapaho tribes to recover 271 acres there. Recently, we recovered an additional 233 acres, including the prairie in the front of Bear Butte. and by the lake in front of, by the land, by the lake in front of the butte. The transaction was challenging because a Sturgis saloon was seeking to land there, seeking to put a biker bar somewhere, and that was where they were looking. An important safeguard of our sacred sites is really clear, and our working relationship with the Indian Land Tenure Foundation was key for that purchase. So the Oglala Sioux tribe, Rosebud Sioux, Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, we've all worked together to recover equal shares of land also at Sioux San in Rapid City. The land is now being used as a homeless shelter being operated by a Native-led organization. And just to summarize, I believe that, you know, Paisley speaks to the power that exists when tribes come together. This corroboration in our shared goals after our land was taken and lost for more than 200 years, it's now back under our control. It's under the control of the Ocheti Shikoing, and we will preserve it. We'll preserve it for generations to come. Thank you for listening, and hope I wasn't too unclear reading my notes, but at the same time, I appreciate being here, and thank you for letting me speak. It is an honor to be telling this story to all of the people here, but even more if they get to hear this. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Chairman Anderson. I think Paisley really sets the groundwork for other tribes and really tribal consortia to come together and reclaim their homelands. So thank you so much for sharing your story with us today. Slide. I'd now like to introduce Ms. Carrie Lamphere. She is the Environmental Project Manager and Tribal Consortium Coordinator at the Sitka Tribe of Alaska, and she is going to share the work of the Sitka Tribe of Alaska Environmental Lab. So Carrie, if I could have you turn on your camera, please.
Hi, next slide, please. Aloha, kakayaka, okere ko'ua inoa. Hana'au, Sitka Tribe of Alaska, Malama Aina, Mauku, Makai. Hello, everyone. My name is Carrie Lamphere. I'm so honored to be here with you today. Thank you to the Honoring Nations boards, as well as the amazing other finalists we have here today. I'm Native Hawaiian, but for the last 5 years, I've had the great honor and privilege of working on Tlingit and Haida lands with the Sitka Tribe of Alaska. Today, I'm going to be sharing the Sitka Tribe of Alaska Environmental Research Lab story with you and how we perpetuate sovereignty through science. Next slide, please. So as Native people, we share our knowledge through stories, through mo'olelo. And so today I'm going to share that story of our lab with you. And as many Native stories, it starts at time immemorial and it starts around food. And so the food that we're going to be talking about today is shellfish. Shellfish is an incredibly important subsistence food for coastal tribes in Alaska. But however, shellfish, they can be dangerous. We have traditional knowledge that says during certain times of year, we shouldn't harvest. We should not harvest shellfish. There's an adage here in Southeast Alaska that after the herring spawn is when we should stop our harvest. So ecologically, oceanographically, what's happening after the herring spawn? You know, we're transitioning from winter to spring. The sun is starting to come out. The ocean is starting to warm up, and we have a lot of nutrients in our oceans. These are the perfect environmental conditions for phytoplankton to bloom. And as it happens, there are certain phytoplanktons that are dangerous. These are called harmful algal blooms. And shellfish are filter feeders. And if they eat any of those harmful algal bloom species that are in the water column, then they themselves are going to have those toxins inside. And if we consume those toxins, then we can get sick. And it's so dangerous. It's not even that we might get sick, it's that people can die. And in a changing climate, we need to adapt our ecological knowledge on how to deal with these toxins in our shellfish, because the ground beneath our feet is shifting. Things are changing so rapidly, not just here in Sitka, but in all of Indian country, all over the world. And so how do we adapt? How do we change our knowledge so we can still use our traditional subsistence foods for our cultural purposes? Next slide, please. So the Sitka tribe of Alaska, our answer to that question is our perpetuation of sovereignty through science. So I'm going to speak of that through three primary pillars today. The first is data collection. So since all of these indicators in our environment are changing, we need to be able to understand how they're changing so we can adapt our practices. So we take all kinds of measures all over the region in Southeast Alaska. We're taking air temperature, water temperature. We're doing phytoplankton tests so we can know if those dangerous types of harmful algal blooms, those phytoplanktons, are in the water at any given time. And we're not just doing that here in Sitka. We're doing that all throughout Southeast Alaska. So there's a tribal consortium of 17 different tribes who have come together to do this work collectively. You can see in this picture, that's a small picture of us at the top the last time we were able to get together before the pandemic in 2019. And of course, the most important data point that we're collecting is we are harvesting shellfish from important subsistence beaches in the community, and they're sending it to the Sitka Tribe of Alaska Environmental Research Lab for analysis. Next slide, please. So our second pillar is analysis. So all of our other tribal partners, they collect their shellfish on the beach where they are, their most important subsistence beach, and they send them to us in Sitka. And from here, we do the lab work to analyze what the risk is. So they send us shellfish, we homogenize them into what we call clam smoothies, and then we're able to test for those toxins. The primary toxins we're looking at are paralytic shellfish poisoning that cause PSP. That's the big one. We've still seen deaths in Alaska, not in our region, but in other areas where they don't have this monitoring program happening. You haven't seen deaths in other coastal states like Washington and Oregon since the 50s. So it's super important that we have this monitoring in Alaska. We also look at things like diuretic shellfish poisoning and amnesic shellfish poisoning. These are the three big types of issues that we're looking at with our shellfish. So we are able to collect them from our partners. They send them to us in the lab, we analyze for them, and then what? This work doesn't matter if we don't tell anyone about it. Next slide, please. So the third pillar of how we perpetuate sovereignty through science is communication. So in contemporary times, right, we have a website. Of course, we have a website. We have an email listserv, right? But traditionally, that's not how Native people communicate. And that assumes that all of our communities are going to have good access to internet all the time, which we know across Southeast Alaska and much of Indian country, that's just not the case. So how do we get this community out? A tribal elder once told me it's the tribal telegraph, yeah? So all the aunties get on the phone, they talk to each other, and in 1 minute, right, everyone knows what's going on, good or bad. And so we replicate that. We've got our tribal partners in their communities, they're the boots on the ground, and they communicate the risk of harvesting and eating these important subsistence foods at any given time. They're putting up flyers at grocery stores, at post office, places that people are congregating. I want to also point out many of these pictures you're looking at here today are students. They're our tribal youth who we're training up to do this work into the future. Next slide, please. So through those three pillars is how we perpetuate our sovereignty through science, right? Data collection, analysis, and communication. But I would also like to point out that it's not just through science that we perpetuate sovereignty, it's also through community. We can't do it alone. We're doing it with all these great tribal partners and then all these other partners that I have listed on the bottom across the way as well. I want to leave you all with one final thought. As I said, I'm Native Hawaiian, and how about you, Imele? So I'm going to sing for you here. Ko ku'ila hui e hawi pau aiola mau. What that means in Hawaiian is, for my nation, I give my all so that our legacies live on. That's what we're trying to do here in Sitka. That's what we're trying to do here in Southeast. And through these great talks today from the other panelists, that's what all of us are doing across Indian country, across our nation. So grateful to be here with you today. So grateful for the opportunity to share our story, our mo'olelo. Mahalo nui loa. Thank you so much.
Carrie, thank you so much for sharing the gift of song and sharing the story of the environmental lab. It's just incredible. The lab is doing what the state of Alaska can't do in terms of testing and data sharing. And it's also just so impressive that the lab is building citizen scientists and creating a new economy. So thank you so much. Slide. I'd now like to introduce to you Mr. Weston LeMay. He is the staff attorney with the Swinomish Indian Tribal Community, and he will be presenting with Senator Jeremy Wilbur, who is an elected member of the Swinomish Senate and chair of the Swinomish Tax Committee, and they are going to share the work of the Swinomish Tax Authority. So Weston and Senator, if you would like to unmute yourself and come on video.
Thank you, Megan, and thank you to all the other speakers. Our presentation today is about taxation as a vehicle for tribal sovereignty. We're here to tell the story of how the Swinomish tribe was able to start taxing on reservation properties that had previously been taxed only by the state, and how this exercise of the tribe's sovereignty transformed its relationship with its non-tribal neighbors. To understand how the tribe achieved this, you have to go back to a 2013 federal court case known as Great Wolf Lodge. In that case, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals officially recognized that tribes possess the exclusive sovereign authority to tax permanent improvement built on tribal trust lands. For everyone who isn't a property tax nerd, what that means in plain terms is that if there's a privately owned home sitting on leased land that's held in trust for a tribe, only that tribe has the authority to assess property taxes on the home. There are over 900 such properties on the Swinomish Reservation, which is located on Fidalgo Island in Washington's Skagit County. There's a reservation map here. This includes the affluent Shelter Bay community, which is shown in our next photo. Next, please. This is Shelter Bay. After Great Wolf Lodge, for the first time, the path was open for the tribe to tax and collect revenue on these properties and put that revenue to use for the community. But there was a problem. Whether or not the tribe decided to tax these properties, Skagit County, the local county, no longer could. And in 2014, 942 such homes were removed from the county's tax rolls. Overnight, the county and the local tax districts, fire and ambulance services, the LeConner Library, and schools found themselves in a budget crisis. They were facing a projected combined deficit of about $6 million. This was not something that the Swinomish tribe could afford to ignore. The majority of the tribe's youth attend LeConner schools, and those other tax districts also provide vital services to tribal members. Although the tribe had done nothing to cause this crisis, the Senate decided that the tribe would do what it could to avert it. To that end, the Senate adopted a two-part strategy. First, build a property tax program. I'm sorry, next slide, please. First, build a property tax program from the ground up. And second, deal with the local budget crisis. First, the Senate created the Swinomish Tax Authority, which you see here on the slide. That's STA for short. This was a new government department charged with and dedicated to assessing and collecting taxes for the over 900 affected properties. Skipping ahead, after more than 5 years in operation, the STA has proven itself to be effective and impactful. It handles millions in annual tax revenues and has a collection rate of over 99%, which is significantly better than the county's rate. The department is fully funded by tax revenues, which also help fund tribal government services ranging from housing to cultural problems. Next, please. Turning back to part two of the strategy, having to do with the budget crisis. The tribe's approach to addressing the budget crisis was to build partnerships. Now that the tribe actually had the ability to collect the taxes, the Senate's next move was to negotiate a series of ILAs, interlocal agreements, with those affected tax districts. That's the school, the fire district, et cetera. And in those agreements, it agreed to make regular voluntary contributions of tax revenue. Over the last 5 years, the tribe has contributed more than $6 million to these local entities, including $750,000, a little above, just for a new library, which will be named the LeConner Swinomish Library in honor of that partnership. These contributions successfully averted the local budget crisis and ensured the continuity of services for tribal members. Next, please. I'll wrap up by highlighting just a few details that have been vital to the program's success. First, on education and communication, people fear what they don't understand, and taxpayers are no different. Clear and simple letters to the taxpayers and avoiding big procedural changes compared to what they were used to with the state really helped ease the transition to tribal taxation. Next, with respect to capacity and infrastructure, the tribe developed a comprehensive new tax code from scratch in response to Great Wolf Lodge, and this is available for use as a model code. The key here is that it's written so that taxpayers themselves can use and understand it. It's not just by lawyers for lawyers. For example, taxpayers can challenge their property valuations just like they could under the equivalent state law. But unlike the state code, the tribal code gives taxpayers a step-by-step instruction manual on how to actually do that, including what to bring to a hearing. It's the difference between a paper right and one that is practical and practically accessible. The tribe also benefits because appeals are resolved more efficiently with less time and money. Finally, on government partnerships, I just want to emphasize how transformative the ILAs have been. Historically, the tribe's relationships with local government entities have been difficult at times. Yet in these agreements, those same entities acknowledge tribal sovereignty and have even gone so far as to agree to defend the tribe in court should the tribe's tax ever be challenged. It's fair to say that $6 million buys a lot of goodwill, but the point here is that these non-tribal institutions now have a vested interest in the tribe's success, and specifically in the exercise of the tribe's sovereignty, and that makes for better neighbors overall. Thank you all, and with that, I'll hand you over to Senator Wilbur for a tribal leader's perspective on taxation and sovereignty.
Thank you, Weston. Weston did a great job of explaining the Swinomish, what happened here at Swinomish. I'm Jeremy J.J. Wilbur. Cuts but Soot, 7th generation is my traditional name. Thank the Honoring Nations Board today for this opportunity. I'd also like to thank my past and present leaders here at Swinomish for setting this program up and the staff. So sovereignty, I guess, to sum up all of what Weston had to say, we have a very short amount of time, unfortunately. This contributes to the sovereignty of the Swinomish Nation. It is our dream or our vision here at Swinomish to be able to govern all the people within our reservation boundaries. The ability to tax the folks within our reservation boundaries, what it does is giving us the opportunity to create valuable relationships with the LaConner School District, with Fire District 13, with these outside state entities that have a big part in helping to educate and healthcare for our tribal folks. So we're creating great relationships here at Swinomish as a result. We're governing more people within our reservation boundaries. And last but not least, this has given us the opportunity to make up for the shortfalls in funding from the federal government for our education and our healthcare. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Wilbur. Thank you, Weston. I think the taxation rate of over 99% is astonishing. It really speaks to the tremendous way Swinomish values and relationship building have been integrated into the authority's operations. So thank you very much. Slide. Oh, there you go. Heartfelt thanks to all the finalists for sharing their incredibly impactful work they do to strengthen their nations and all of Indian country. We are all made stronger by their example and groundbreaking work. If we were together, we would give them all a standing ovation, but maybe we can give them just a round of applause wherever you are. So thank you to all the finalists, soon to be awardees for 2021. I'd now like to invite Chairman of the Honoring Nations Board, Regis Pecos, from Cochiti Pueblo to say a few words. Regis, if you could turn on your camera and unmute yourself.
Thank you, Megan. Honorable tribal leaders, honorable members of the Board of Governors, to all of the many distinguished guests and friends joining us today, our relatives and our honorees. On behalf of the Board of Governors and our staff, we want to welcome and thank you for joining us today. Honoring Nations is about fulfilling our vision of transferring cultural knowledge as every generation has done since time immemorial. It is the fulfillment of our collective sacred trust to all future generations. Our elders teach us that vision's companion is wisdom. From a vision, Wisdom uses words to speak, to transform our visions into the realm of reality. It becomes a living spirit guided by our actions. It becomes a living spirit nurtured by our core values gifted to us that defines the governance of our relationship with all living things as part of this large ecosystem that we are a part of. It becomes part of our lived experience. And then it becomes part of our history. It creates the vitality of the spirit of community that we are all a part of. Today, we honor all of you, honorees, for your vision, for your wisdom. You're giving birth to new relationships, creating community. And in this way, through your contributions and action, you become part of a living history, fulfilling the original instructions gifted to us by our Creator of how to be, of how to live. You have now become part of the story and history of honoring nations to share with the world, to share with everyone across Indian country. You will now become part of our recital in our prayers this day forward as we reflect on our collective life journey. The greatest contribution that we thank you for is that you are keeping the spirit of cultural knowledge alive, guided by our core values gifted to us by our parents, grandparents, family, and communities. And how we live by these core values is how we honor all those who have defined our inheritance. It is through these efforts and actions that we honor them, our parents, our families, our communities, and become good ancestors. Through your actions, you are defining what future generations will inherit from us in the same way that all others who have gone before us have defined all that we have inherited, the gifts of the Creator, our lands, our language, our way of life, our customary laws and governance systems and institutions, our families, our communities, resources for our sustenance symbolized by the giver of all life, the spirit of water. We want to, on behalf of the Board of Governors and our staff, congratulate all of you and thank you for your contributions. Megan?
Thank you, Regis. We now have a special video from members of the Honoring Nations Board of Governors to announce the award designations of honors and high honors. I think you'll agree, regardless of designations, they are all winners and they all have incredible lessons that we can all learn from. Each awardee will receive a monetary award, dissemination and amplification of their work through our collaborations with Google and the Smithsonian and through Harvard, and a beautiful storyteller, specially handcrafted by artist Carolyn Sando from Jemez Pueblo. Melissa, if you could go ahead and share your screen and play the video.
Agua Caliente People Curriculum, Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians. Collaborating with the Palm Springs School District and the district's foundation, the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians has led and transformed education in Southern California. Their People Curriculum, taught to all Palm Springs Unified Public School students, corrects decades of misinformation and teaches the true history and culture of the Agua Caliente people in their own words.
We are pleased to announce an award designation of honors for the Agua Caliente People Curriculum, Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla Indians.
Cherokee Nation One Fire, Cherokee Nation, delivering critical trauma-informed care to survivors of domestic abuse, sexual assault, and dating violence. The Cherokee Nation's One Fire program protects all citizens, whether they be men or women, native or non-native, throughout its 14-county jurisdiction. One Fire's comprehensive services meet the immediate needs of those in crisis and also addresses the root causes of violence to ensure a safer community for future generations.
We are pleased to announce an award designation of high honors for the Cherokee Nation One Fire, Cherokee Nation.
Energy Lifeline Sector Resilience, Low Carbon Microgrids, Blue Lake Rancheria. The Energy Lifeline Sector Resilience uses cutting-edge technology to achieve energy self-sufficiency through the development and installation of low-carbon microgrids. By operating the microgrids independently during emergencies, the tribe is able to provide reliable power to significantly improve the stability of the entire region.
We are pleased to announce an award designation of honors for the Energy Lifeline Sector Resilience, Low Carbon Microgrids, Blue Lake Rancheria.
Paisley, Great Sioux Nation. By coming together, the 7 council fires of the Great Sioux Nation were able to safeguard Paisley, a sacred site in the heart of the Black Hills. This intertribal collaboration has expanded jurisdiction, strengthened tribal relationships, and led to a restoration of the land, buffalo, and ceremony.
We are pleased to announce an award designation of high honors for Paisley, Great Sioux Nation.
Sitka Tribe of Alaska Environmental Lab, Sitka Tribe of Alaska. Conducting life-saving testing of marine resources, as well as monitoring and mitigating changing ocean conditions brought about by climate change, the Sitka Tribe of Alaska's Environmental Research Lab plays a key role in the stewardship of its region. The lab's leadership to deliver real-time data has given all tribes throughout southeastern Alaska the unparalleled capacity to provide safe access to healthy shellfish populations and other subsistence resources within their traditional territories.
We are pleased to announce an award designation of honors for the Sitka Tribe of Alaska Environmental Lab, Sitka Tribe of Alaska.
Swinomish Tax Authority, Swinomish Indian Tribal Community. This program expands tribal sovereignty and taxation in effective and creative ways. The new Swinomish Indian Tribal Communities Tax Authority generates vital revenue streams to fund key government programs and services. The authority also strengthens relationships with neighboring governments through voluntary and regular contributions to the local school, fire, and library districts, providing valuable services to on and off reservation residents.
We are pleased to announce an award designation of high honors for the Swinomish Tax Authority, Swinomish Indian Tribal Community.
Congratulations to you all. Thank you so much for sharing your stories. We are all stronger because of your leadership and your exercise of self-governance and service to your people. Welcome to the Honoring Nations family. I'd like to invite Regis to offer us a closing prayer.
Thank you, Megan. And on behalf of the Board of Governors and all the people who have joined us today and those across the country and the world, I want to offer a prayer of thanks and blessings to the honorees for bestowing upon all of us throughout Indian country and through the world your vision and wisdom. and through your actions, preserving to protect holy places, protecting the givers of life, our women and our families, nurturing the spirit of sovereignty and self-governance, being good stewards and protectors to keep in balance all living things, all our relations, transforming the spirit of invisible energy to impact the quality of life, through our lived experiences, teaching others to understand, honor, and respect others, to respect one another, that is central to peace and justice and equity, to keep our relations of all peoples in balance. These are all in keeping with the gifts of our Creator, maintaining a clear path for others yet to be born to follow the prescribed way of life given to us by our Creator, following the original instructions of how to be, how to live, how we maintain a healthy mind, body, and spirit as we continue our journey. We thank you for sharing these gifts. And I share this with you in our common language of English. And now I want to use my given language of Keres, of Cochiti Pueblo, to share this and honor you. Tseum kuhu ho at the Kashimi Mani Garstiwano. Do not you eat the church 8 shall new hour score money. Go assume and a kestra papa kumumo you hour try. Han cartridge in ye. It was cartridge in ye. At the Hawa Nata apa Shuma. At the Amu Hatiti Oha Marsh time. At the new Anakan Sutras, the new Atsitokan Sutras, at the Sum and a kestra Hatiti Kua Tea Ni Anikuan. At the meal, Amo, Nasha Sutras, the Nek, Chinese Sutras, the Nazi Sutras, the as meal hat meko, go a heka eat the stopets on it, your chupist money, you do not go not me, go quit not me, hot the at you our try, hot the Sioux Nation, at meal hat meko, Cherokee Nation, Swinomish at Sitka, Blue Lake Rancheria. Amo hatiti Agua Caliente say or at the amo ho at the master's chuhutrani kono eat as chuhutrani kono amo skutni dune you go not make a queen not me shootni na etcetera he atuka yahni kutno hatiti imata ko sutras got cheat a petra cheat at yutra or tratoni mikotranam zani. In Pueblo culture, if all of you can join us where you are and bring your hands together, folded in this fashion, and spread your arms out, open your hands, and breathe your hands together in a cusp, and breathe in. When we do that, we share the breath and share the spirit of one family, of one community, of many nations to make one nation. Thank you all for the vision and the wisdom you have gifted all of us and all future generations that will hear of your contributions. With that, thank you. Nehtra, Yahnikutno, Trapatstia. May you be blessed as you continue your life journey. Thank you, Megan, and thank you for everyone joining us today.
Thank you, Regis. Thank you all for joining us. Thank you to the new awardees. Again, this presentation will be available on the Ash Center's YouTube. We'll send you all a link, and thank you again for coming today.